you trying to create a map for your fantasy novel or your RPG campaign, but you're not quite sure where to start? Well, map making can be a whole lot of fun, but it can also be a little bit difficult. So if you're looking to try to figure out the process and try to create your own, hope you stick around. Everyone's got their own idea of what their world is supposed to look like. However, getting to that point, that can be a little bit different story. So if you're watching this, I'm just going to start from the very beginning with a completely blank page, and here I'm going to start by just making a very generic blob. Now I don't really care what the blob looks like, just a generic shape like that. Now, I know that some of you guys have probably seen maps that's basically the extent of the coastline, and let's face it, there are some who think that that is as far as the map needs to go, but honestly, we can do so much better. So when you think about the real world and just think about the way that the world looks and the way that the world has different features, rarely is it going to have coastlines that are going to be nice and smooth like this. More often than not, you're going to have a few extra things that are going to be sticking out. You're going to have a few extra little kind of weird bumps here and there. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to start by adding in kind of a little protrusion right here, just like this. Then down here, I'm just going to add a little extra something, just like that. Over here, I'm going to add another something right here. And just for the heck of it, I'll do something right up here. Now, again, it still looks a little bit basic, but you know what? We're in the basic stage, so we'll keep going. From here, though, you'll notice that I've got some extra little juts here, but then it goes kind of a little bit out to the side here. This is still a little bit too smooth for me. So once again, I'm just going to come in, and now I'm going to actually take my pen and notice where it hits right here. That's a little bit weird and a little bit abrupt. So I'm going to start by just kind of making a little thing inside there. So now it's got a little bit of a divot there. And I'm just going to do the same thing right in here. So I've got a little bit of divot there. Over here, I'm going to add a little bit of a divot to just kind of round out that corner. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just shaping the coastline. And the thing is, I'm not actually sure what this one is going to look like in the end, but you know what? That's one of the fun things. And bear in mind, this technique is useful if you don't know what your map is supposed to look like overall. If you already have an idea of what your world is supposed to look like, then you're going to create from there. But for this one, we're creating from the very beginning. Now, with these little bumps, I like to go and do a little bit more. So right here, I'll just kind of add an extra little peninsula bit right there like that. And then I'll just kind of do that around the outside here like this. Just to add little extra things there. Kind of come in, kind of like that. And then I'll add a little bit more right in here like this. And just kind of do this all around. So the first bit, you notice I just did that in pencil because then it can be erased. This part I'm coming in with pen because I'll be laying it down and being finished with there. Then here I'm just going to add in a little bit right there. And then I've got this long bit here. Normally it's not going to be super flat. So I think I'm just going to kind of come in. Just going to add just a little bit more of a point. And I'll just kind of tuck that in like that. So again, it still looks a little bit weird. It still looks a little bit wacky. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over these lines that I have here. I'm just going to kind of dance my pen around so that I can make them stand out a little bit differently. And just going back and forth over the line, just like that. So now I create a interesting coast. I'll just kind of do that in here, just like that. Connect in there. Then just sort of go just like that. And you'll notice also, I'm just kind of seeing what happens. I'm just seeing what it's going to look like because I don't know what it's going to look like in the end. I just know that if I follow the process, it'll eventually turn out. And that's a very important thing when it comes to not just creating these maps, but writing in general. You just gotta trust the process. The process will happen. Sometimes it will look obvious, sometimes it won't, but in the end, you just see what's going to happen, and then you get there. So here, now that I've gotten all the way to the end, now I've got this weird shape going on, and we can do some more stuff with it. I'm from Alaska. I'm a huge fan when it comes to islands and incorporating stuff out in the ocean. So the first thing that I'm going to declare is that this stuff right here, this is all going to be my landmass. And then this is all going to be my ocean just out here. So I think I'm going to come in and on the side here, I'm just going to add a little island right like that. Just something like that. And then over here, I'm going to add another island. Just like that. Just kind of doing a little bit of weird stuff. Over here, you know what? Let's kind of tuck another island just right in here. Just like that. And then maybe all the way down here at the end, I'm going to do one. And this one, I'm just going to kind of sort of curl around a little bit. Looking a little bit kind of weird like that. Yeah, let's kind of do something like that. Well, now that I've got all these guys drawn in, odds are those aren't going to be the only islands. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some smaller islands. So I'm going to add like an island right in here like that. I'm going to add an island like next to it. You know what? Let's put a few islands together. Yeah, we'll give these islands some friends. When I'm doing this, I like to think of how islands might have broken off from each other. So like here, maybe this was part of that. So therefore, some of these islands would be the intermediate parts. Just kind of like that. Maybe this one was a part of that. So I'll add in an island here, add an island here. Maybe I'll just add an island there. So there it could be kind of still connected. And over here, I like having that arc. I think that's kind of cool. So I'm just going to add one here, add one here, add one there, and just kind of add another like that. So that's now kind of connecting those islands together. But then over like on this one, let's kind of add a few little guys here, kind of like this. Then over here, you'll add in a couple others like this, just like so. And you know what, maybe in here, I'll just add a couple little islands like that. Well, after doing all of these islands, it kind of made me think, I'm going to touch some things up over here, but what about inside here? So like maybe like right here, maybe there's a lake. You know what? Maybe that's a lake, just kind of right in the middle of everything. I think that'd be kind of cool. And I also think that I'd like to make a lake right there, right like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. All right, so now I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to add a few more islands just because I want to kind of fill out this coastline a little bit. I like islands. Yeah, I come from Alaska, so we have lots of islands. We've got really cool coasts. And we've got an area called the Panhandle. Lots of little islands down there. There we go. And you know what? In here, I was going to add a few little islands, just kind of right up close, just off to the coast there. And then I'll add another couple islands just on that coast, and little ones right there. I'll put a guy there. Put a guy there. Put one there. I love to go to town with islands. One thing that's really cool about islands too is islands kind of have stories with them. You know, you got this little thing kind of off in the middle of nowhere. Well, what's there? You know, what kind of people decided they're going to live there? Does anyone live there? Is it abandoned? Is it just its own thing? You know, who knows? Is there a small community that likes to use it? Did someone get shipwrecked and they found a spot over here and it kept them safe? Does anyone know about them? You know, just little questions, little things. They just kind of make you think. And when I think about those kind of things, it helps give me story ideas. And let's face it, if you're making a fantasy book, then you care about story. So, alrighties. So this is good for right now. As you notice, I still have a bunch of the pencil lines, and so I'm going to clear those up. So now let me just erase. And now we've got our landmass with all of our guidelines taken out. Now, for some people, they're going to just stop here because you've got the land defined, you've got the other islands, you've got the water, and you know what? Some people like to shade it, some people don't. I really like the shaded look, but one technique that I do also find is really good is around the border to actually put a thin line just to kind of identify the coastline. And what it does is helps show kind of where the shallows are. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that in. And now it helps to define our coast. I'm just going to do a little bit inside here because that is our lake. And another step that you can do is you can actually just go in and you can physically shade everything in. So, starting over here, and again, I'm just shading in all of the stuff that isn't the land. And there we go. Now, I just went pretty fast just to give the general idea, but as you can see, I've got the white part that's going to be the land. I've got the dark stuff that's now going to be water. I'm just going to color in my lakes, and then I'm good to go. So at this point, I now have the entire land figured out. I've got the land defined, I've got the islands defined, I've got the water defined. Well, I do have one more bit of water that I want to add in, and that's rivers. And everyone knows that rivers are going to flow down to the sea. Oftentimes with lakes, they might flow into a river or into the ocean. So for this one, I'm actually just going to take it down to that little peninsula there. And then this one, I'm also going to take down to the ocean. But other times you're going to have some other rivers, and they're going to be out and about here. Maybe they'll flow kind of like that. Then there'll be another river that'll connect off of it, a little tributary. Then maybe down here, I'll have another something right here, kind of like that. And then maybe up here, I'm going to have one that's just going to kind of go all the way over here, and there's going to be a tributary here, and here, and here, like so. So now that I've got my rivers in there, now I've got those, now I've got the water defined, I'm pretty confident in letting this stay just as a landmass. Well, we do know that another defining feature of maps is going to be mountains, and if you take a look at the video that should be appearing right up in here, I'll show you how I actually do the mountains for mine. Otherwise, I hope that you have a lot of fun creating, and I hope this has been really useful. If it has, please give it a like and hopefully subscribe. And otherwise, take care and have an awesome time creating.